Welcome to Wisdom Within with Tina and Tonya. We've got a great episode for you today. We are going to really talk about why trusting yourself is essential for personal growth and transformation. And we are going to bring to you the three challenges and three strategies to trusting yourself. So stay tuned through the end. We've got some good stuff for you. Before we dive in, I want to introduce myself. I'm Tonya, and I work with women who are experiencing a spiritual shift. They feel called towards something greater, but they struggle with self-doubt and trusting themselves, that amazing thing that we're all so familiar with of second guessing. And I guide them to fully embrace their power and step into their next level. Tina, would you introduce yourself as well?
Hi, I'm Tina, and I guide women to deepen their spiritual connection through simple rituals, gratitude practices, and elemental wisdom. I help them weave sacred spirituality in everyday life with ease and meaning.
I love the word weave. Every time you say the word weave, I can visualize it. Maybe it's the Scorpio in me that wants to put the puzzle pieces together and I can see it. I don't know. I love it. I love it. So let's talk about why we struggle to trust ourselves. There's specific reasons as to why, but let's start with that. Tina, do you want to share some things that have come up for you with that topic? Why we struggle to trust ourselves?
So, I think one of the biggest things for me has been the conditioning, right? So we have our past conditioning. We have people tell us that we don't know or that we are expected to do things a certain way, and we do these things in the way that they tell us to at the detriment of um, our knowing, our inner knowing. We leave that inner knowing to the side, and we do what people tell us to do. And we've been conditioned by society that we need to be doing things a certain way. We've been conditioned by family that we need to do things a certain way, or we need to look a certain way, or we need to act a certain way. And religion, it just all of the things have us um, looking outside of ourselves for one for those answers, but then also it's been that deep conditioning from the time that we were kids, babies. We have to be a certain way, and so I think that's my biggest one is I know how it was in my family, how I was told that women or girls are to be a certain way. And I used to always not have a filter, right? And so sometimes I would pop off with things that were definitely not, um, people would be like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that, Tina. And I learned, you know, that wasn't right. That wasn't right. And so now that I'm older, I have less of a filter, but I learned to filter really very, um, very quickly. So yeah,
Mhm.
those are some of
Really,
the things that I've seen. Yeah.
yeah, and that teaching you that your insight isn't wanted and not enough or not whatever,
Hmm.
just time to be hushed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have an experience with that as well. It was actually when I was getting divorced. Or it was getting ready to go through that
Hmm.
process. And I knew with everything in my soul that this needed to happen. And yet I was having voices and family members from the outside who were trying to give me alternative solutions. And, well, why don't you just do this? Or why don't you just do it this way? And really adding to this. You're wrong. This isn't right. It's not good for you. It's not good for your kids. And I remember just really being able to kind of like, thanks, but no thanks.
Hmm.
Because it was really, I was getting advice that was quite incorrect for me. But talk about self-trust, right? When you're feeling something to the core, and then you've got people that have been authority figures in your life or that you look up to or believe, and they're coming back saying all of that, like that is, I think that's exactly
Yeah.
what that is, right?
Yeah.
That's why we have self-doubt, why we don't
Right.
trust ourselves.
Yeah. Another one is fear of making the wrong decision, right?
Oh.
So we're always, it's like, which way? I want to be right. I want to be right all the time, right? And, sometimes we have to remember that, um, I was telling you this morning, I pulled a card for my Facebook group, and it was um, trusting in the unfolding, and that no path is wrong. It just might take you a little bit longer depending on the path that you take. And so um, when we get into that fear of making the wrong decision, we're overanalyzing. Our minds are spinning. We're thinking about trying to, oh, I don't know if this is the right thing for me. I don't know how, if I want to, I don't know if this is going to be, you know, good or whatever. We struggle with that one. So,
You're
and
just,
perfectionism.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was going to say, you just put into words everything that's been going in my head the last couple of days. Of course, as you know, but it's kind of funny because this fear of making the wrong decision, I mean, I shared this with you yesterday, but
Mhm.
I was like, I'm in it. I'm in
Yeah.
it. I have a or B right now. And that's not common because usually I have so many options, right? But
Hmm.
I'm looking at this A or B and I go get my pendulum and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get
Yeah.
some help with this. And I'm doing so every time I use my pendulum, I like show me yes, show me no. So I'm in the middle of that. I get done with that and I start to like, okay, what is the question specifically? What question am I bringing to this? And my cat just starts playing with it, just all over. And no matter which way I turn, he's just attacking this thing. He just wants to play. So I put it away, I put it in my pocket, and I'm like, all right, I'll give him some attention and then I'll go back to it. And he lays on my lap. He's not letting me get to this pendulum. And I'm like, okay, message received. I am not meant to do it this way. Um, but as soon as I was able to get, like, I grab my journal. So I play with him for a minute, finally give up on the idea of using the pendulum, get out my journal. And he's like, okay, you can journal. He moves, he goes and does his thing. And I'm able to get a lot of information and insight through my journal. But that is what it is, right? That is the root of it is I don't want to make the wrong decision. I know what I want to do.
Mhm.
I know the fear behind it. And it's like, there's not there, as it's not going to be able to tell me what the outcome will be. It's like you have
Right.
to make the choice and go with it. But it is just that indecision, fear of making the wrong choice, and the lengths that we will go to get something that says, do A, and
Right.
everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting to find that.
Yeah.
So, speaking of that, that leads us into our next one, right? Which
Yeah.
is the overconsumption of external
External.
advice. I
Hmm.
mean, you and I have both talked about this, how we've done this over and over and over again, where
Hmm.
we're seeking outside opinions. We're looking for insights, techniques, new tools. I mean, it's like I want that magic pill, you know?
Hmm.
The one, and it's not just the pill, like I want that golden nugget that somebody says, I'm looking for inspiration and insight for that person that had that thing that I've never heard before that is like, oh, that's it. That's what I can do. Um, and like that's what I'm looking for when I
Hmm.
start consuming and I sign up for the next course or I watch that next YouTube video or I listen to that next podcast or, all those different things that I personally have done in the last 2 weeks. This is not in the past. I mean, it is. I have this pattern.
Yeah.
Um, but what's really happening is I'm drowning out my own inner wisdom. I'm not giving
Mhm.
myself an opportunity to really express myself in that way. And as much as it pains me to admit, 90% of the things that I go watch and go listen to, I don't implement anyway. So it's
Hmm.
like every one of those probably could have made a shift for me had I applied one.
Right.
Um, so I'm over consuming and I'm grabbing all these other opinions. I'm drowning out my own inner wisdom. And at the same time, I'm not taking action on 90% of it. My cat's like, see,
Yeah.
he's had to jump in and share his piece there
Right.
too.
Yeah.
So
And that, and even asking friends for advice, or, family for advice, or um, doing the self-help stuff, when we overload on the self-help. I've done that. I've done that in the past so often. Or like you said, the next course, the next, and always looking for that that one magic pill that's gonna change everything. And um yeah, we it doesn't.
Yep, it does not. So, a great reflection question for those of you who are watching is when was the last time you second guessed yourself and what made you doubt your own decision? So, really
Mhm.
being able to spend some time with that. I'll actually put that in the description below so you can reflect on that and maybe journal on it, because that's a really good one. And sometimes we don't necessarily have the answer to that.
Mhm.
That was a question I had for myself the other day, and um, that's there is shadow work. There is your shadow work is really looking at what made you doubt that decision and where that came from.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
let's move into the strategies that strengthen our self-trust because we've definitely talked about the three things that really tank our self-trust. So what do we do to build it? What are some of your small acts?
So one could be just doing those um small wins, looking at your small wins and what maybe I made a decision that was, it wasn't this big decision that we're talking about, but maybe I made a little decision on, even what road I wanted to go on or whatever. Just looking at those different different little small wins and then just start building on that. And so maybe you're starting to trust your intuition a little bit more. And one of the things is, and I used to do this. It's been years ago when I first started trying to really listen to my intuition a lot. Because I've always been pretty intuitive, but we stuffed that down and and so I started just like allowing myself driving around, allow myself I'm just going to turn here and I'm just going to turn here and we'll see where you end up. And that was always fun just to, doing a fun little game like that or just doing different little, what do I want to making a decision about what I want to eat. And I know you have some stories on that, making those little decisions in your life. And pretty soon they're building up and building up to where we're making those bigger decisions with less angst.
Uh, yeah, especially around food. I had gotten to the point where even ordering off the menu brought anxiety to me because I didn't want to because I always felt like no matter what I chose, I would be ridiculed or, ooh, that's gross. Why would you get that? People would
Mhm.
have something to say, some input that was unnecessary and unwanted. And so decision was a big deal for me, trying to even just to make the decision of what I wanted to eat because I wanted to choose what was right. I mean, there's not a right or wrong on what you want to eat,
Right.
but when you're with a toxic human, there certainly is. And it really teaches you to search for approval in every possible way. So I was in that space and then post divorce, we'll just put that little
Mhm.
caveat in there. Post divorce, I really wanted to find myself again and I wanted to learn to trust myself and that was where I started and it was really allowing myself to I did a lot of this alone on purpose. I traveled a lot alone which made it convenient. But even if, I will go here alone too, but
Mhm.
I would look at what movie do I want to go see and go to that alone. But especially when I was traveling, I would really look at what restaurant do I want to go to?
Mhm.
And then when I got there, it was really what do I want to eat? And that was so hard for me in the beginning, to choose because I didn't know. I was waiting for someone to choose for me and tell me what was the right thing to order. And I've even watched this with family members who have been really like fearful of ordering something new because what if I don't like it? Well, who gives a shit if you don't like it? And
Yeah.
it's fine. It's trying something new. But going by myself really helped me because the only person I was answering to was me. And as easy as that sounds, when you're that programmed in the beginning, it's so hard. And so I really got to where um, it's just strengthened my trust. And I learned I actually do like sushi. I actually do like this. And I tried different dishes at like I would go every time I traveled, especially if I went with a group of people, everybody wanted to go to Olive Garden.
Mhm.
And so that was a common place where I had gone quite a bit, but I started ordering a new dish And it was just once during my adventure. I didn't require that every time I did something new, but just once in these 3 days while I'm gone, I will have a new dish or I will try a new restaurant. And that little thing started really creating, I didn't realize how much of an impact that small thing would have
Mhm.
on me for self-trust.
Yeah.
And it was food. And it was so simple. Now I look at
Mhm.
that and I'm just like shaking my head, but I'm shaking my head now as the newer version of me.
Mhm.
When I put myself back in that place, I remember how emotionally charged even just being willing to go to a restaurant alone,
Mhm.
choosing it on which one to go to without outside input, choosing the food. I mean, it was even myself is like, let's expel
Bless you.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to get that shit out. Moving that energy out of the way. But it was
Right.
it was a big deal even at that time. So though so never, I think the whole point of that is never underestimate those small steps because those small things created enormous change in my life.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
definitely. Those are huge.
and then I think this next one's a good one for you.
Using your body as a guide. So recognizing feelings, your physical reactions. And for me, it's always in the gut. It's a gut feeling. Um, and even in those times um when I was self-doubt, when I well, I shouldn't say was, because I still have all those times of self-doubt or times of indecision or whatever. And even in those times, my gut knows. And if I will stop and pay attention to what my gut is telling me, in which to me, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just like this solid knowing in the gut, and it's an understanding, and that's like what I was saying, it's my intuition, and I have this knowing with my intuition if I will listen to it, because there are times when I won't listen to it, or sometimes it is like a heart opening, or it is a feeling of just ease. It's like, oh yeah, this is the thing, it just feels like so simple. And so there's so many different little reactions that you can get. And sometimes it's the emotion that comes up. So, if there's um something that you've been wanting to do, and there's all of a sudden this emotion that comes up, if you listen to that emotion, and maybe it's the emotion of excitement, or the emotion of um total, love, or maybe it's the emotion of, oh no, it's like, it pisses you off or something like that. If you can kind of listen to those emotions too that come up whenever you're trying to do those make those decisions, or because like for me, it is in my body. I find I have all different kinds of reactions that I'll have. Most of the time it is in my gut, but there is usually just this there is a lot of times just this knowing of, yeah, that is what I want. And a lot of times what has happened in the past is that I know that it is the right thing, but I allow others to tell me that it's not. And so just kind of like what you were saying about with your divorce, how other you knew exactly that it was the right thing, and you didn't listen to the others that were telling you. So many times in my life, I knew it was the right thing, but I listened to what others were telling me that it was not the right thing for me, and so I went against that. And that is some of the another, with our programming, issues that we have. So
that's where it is. That's where it lives.
yep.
Yep. Well, and almost the belief that others know you better than you or know that have,
Yeah.
you know,
Hmm.
but that's part of the process.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
And I love that you're using this example of using your body as a guide because in human design, you're a generator, and this
Mhm.
this is very generator conversation. So I love it
Right.
because I'm not a generator, I'm a projector. I don't have that defined sacral. So I do have times when I can get that wisdom from my body, from physical sensations. You also have a defined solar plexus. So the emotions that you're talking about, it might be a physical sensation or it might be an emotional sensation. Both of mine are open in human design. So I don't have I do, but they're not consistent and I can't trust on them. When they show up for me, it's a gift. So when I'm in the moment and needing it, I can't guarantee it will be there where you can. So that's
Mhm.
really kind of and I love to bring this up now, not to go into a full human design tutorial, but I like to be able to point out to people who, in case they're like, I never feel the emotions, I don't feel the gut response, that's okay. It may
Mhm.
not be part of your design and it might come sporadically. So just kind of letting people know that that not everyone has that all the time to rely
Right.
on. But if and when you do, it is trusting that, right? I do
Yeah.
have times where I feel it. I do have times where I have the emotional sensation. And when I get those, then it's time for me to look at that for me and go, okay, I just got this information. What do I do with this now? And
Mhm.
trusting that in that moment. But my number one is it's in the moment. It's
Mhm.
splenic. It's very, my splenic, it's instinct. It's fight, flight, freeze. It is the fear. It is life preservation. So if it's a no, man, that's consistent and it is a very hard no. And that one is very um actually quite easy for me to make a decision on that. And yes, in the past, like what you said, I have allowed others to kind of come in and rationalize it and
Mhm.
talk sense to me. Um, and the times I've ignored it have been to my own detriment.
Right.
So I very much now I trust that beyond anything else. The challenge for me comes when, like I was telling you the other day, A or B, right? I'm
Mhm.
in this A or B time, and neither of them are life-threatening. So honestly, both are probably fine. Um, that's when it gets a little more challenging for me to be able to trusting in some of those other types of things. That's where I have to go to meditation. I'm tuning into my intuition.
Mhm.
I'm journaling. And it's not, I don't want to make the decision from a mindset because that's for none of us to use as an
Right.
authority. Our mind is never an authority.
Right.
Even our mental projectors, and it sounds like it. No, no, there's
Mhm.
difference there. So if you want to know more about your human design, I'll put a link below. We can talk about it. But our mind is never our authority. So that is part of what happens here. For me, I'm like, okay, I'm not getting that instinct. So it's probably either or. And then here comes self-doubt, here comes all these other things. I
Right.
have to use additional strategies. For me, it's things like journaling, meditation, visualization. Those are some of my favorite tools with that. And I mean, I even want to turn to my cards to give me the answer, but
Mhm.
sometimes it just has to come from within. So I just love to bring that up because it's a little bit different than using your body, but it's still part of our body, right?
Right.
Even though mine is not necessarily that gut response, it's still coming from within.
Mhm.
It's just a little bit harder for me to put words to what that looks like.
Yeah. Just, and I always struggled with it you know, because I've always had that. And so when I explain something and then you've been teaching me with the human design, because I'm like, just check in with your gut, you know.
And I'm like,
And you're
Tina,
like, no,
I can't. I
I
mean,
can't.
I'll try.
I'm like, oh, there are people who can't do that because,
Yeah.
and it is so common. I think that we talk about that so much um, in these types of situations. We talk about how um, always check in with your gut or always follow your gut or follow your heart or whatever. And you, I don't think about how, other people can't do that. I was just thinking about that when I used to ride horses all the time. I would, I, I knew what the horse was going to do, and I'd be riding, and The horse would get ready to jump out from underneath me, and I was with the horse. I felt it. I could feel the horse, and people would ask me, and I'd be like, I can feel it. I feel the horse, and they're like, what does that mean? And that's exactly the same thing what we're talking here. So I'm talking to you about feeling your gut, and you're like, what do you mean? Yeah.
Yep. And it's so interesting because each design has a little bit of uniqueness.
Hmm.
So, like for you to say, I feel the horse
Hmm.
is absolutely like, I can see that. I mean, I don't have your chart in front of me, but
Yeah.
I can still see it in your chart. And then for me, it's knowing because
Uh-huh.
I rode horses too.
Hmm.
And I had similar experiences where I knew it was going to dart out from under me, but it was a knowing. It was, I could see that. It's
Hmm.
very projector. I can
Yeah.
see it. And
Uh-huh.
so, like, even in conversations, and then I've got a friend who's a manifester who's like, how did you not know that? So it's a
Yeah.
knowing. It's really
Yeah.
interesting to hear how different types have key phrases that really
Right.
resonate. So
Hmm.
it's just kind of fascinating with, yeah, I don't know, just looking at the different nuances to that.
Yeah.
But again, it's all here. It's all
Hmm.
here. And this is really so, regardless of your human design and your authority, it's taking it from the lens being outward to the lens being inward.
Inward.
I
Yep.
do have a defined G center.
Hmm.
Um, I can make that compassionate decision, that heartfelt decision. Um, Other people who have that open, that's not going to be something that they can rely on. They'll
Hmm.
they'll have times of it, but we're just beautiful, and I love how we're all individual in that way. So
Right.
I
Yeah,
could go
it's
on with that
awesome.
forever, but
Yeah.
we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, committing to a self-trust detox. So this is like spending 48 hours without asking for advice, and relying on our inner knowing first.
Yeah.
This one, and the other thing is don't go to social media. Don't go to, try to listen to the latest podcast or listen to it's just taking that time to listen to your inner knowing. I had a exercise come up recently that I'm fixing to do. It's like just sitting for an hour, sipping tea or, doing whatever, just sitting, doing nothing and see what comes up. And I'm like, oh, that's scary to me because I sit for 10 minutes and I'm grabbing the phone or I'm grabbing a notebook to write down things or I'm grabbing whatever to to do things. And so I'm kind of like, okay, I'm going to commit to this. And I feel like that is a really good way to connect with that inner knowing is
Mhm.
taking that time to just allow yourself to detox from asking,
Mhm.
and even asking because like you and I were both very spiritual, and I ask my guides, what do you want me to know? Or I ask creator, or I ask the trees, or I ask the whatever, what do I need to know right now? Or I ask the cards. And taking that detox away from all of that asking and just connecting with that inner knowing. I
Mhm.
think that's an awesome exercise.
I'm laughing because so we know cards are my friends.
Yep.
Like I have a connection with my cards.
Yep.
They have energy and personality, and I know which one has a message for me, and I
Hmm.
have conversations with them. And I shit you not, like 9 times out of 10, when I go to ask it that question of what do I want to do, I pull that freaking card that says trust yourself. And
Trust
I'm like,
yourself.
damn you. Like, I mean, I can see the card in my head. I know exactly which one it is. And
Right.
so sometimes I will even avoid that deck because I don't want that card. So what am I doing? My inner knowing is I need to trust myself, but I
Yeah.
don't want that card. So I'm going to choose a deck that doesn't have
Yep.
that answer in it.
Hmm.
And of course it comes out in one way or another. But
Hmm.
it's so but the thing here that I see with this self-trust detox, the beauty in it is simply showing us the habit that we
Hmm.
have of reaching externally. So
Right.
when I'm relying on my inner knowing first, it is like I close my eyes. Not everyone has to, but I close my eyes. I go within and I'm instantly here and I'm
Mm-hmm.
having a conversation with myself here. That is very different from messaging you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say those things aren't valuable because a lot of
Right.
times even just in that conversation I have a lot of clarity and insight
Yeah,
just messaging you back and forth. So that
definitely.
is
Me too.
yeah, so that's
Mm-hmm.
valuable and it's not that we avoid that, but it's being able to communicate while also bringing the attention and the focus within.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but often when you and I are talking, we're communicating the topic and the issue. We're not really asking for, what do
Mm-hmm.
I do? We're just sharing, which is also very different than
Right.
if I were to say, Tina, what should I do with this? Should I do A
Mm-hmm.
or B? You might help me kind of talk through both options, but you're not offering the, this is what I think you should do.
Yeah.
Um, but really going into um, it just shows us how often we reach. I'm looking for the YouTube, I'm looking for the Instagram, I'm looking for someone else to give me that insight. And there's so much time and energy and mental energy and emotional energy that's invested in that.
Mm-hmm.
And really, sometimes we're using that as a distraction so that we don't actually take time to tune within and have to
Mm-hmm.
come up with an answer because then we might have to do it.
Right.
So, there's a lot of things that come with that, but I love this idea of, spending 48 hours or even longer without asking for advice or,
Mm-hmm.
just really asking yourself, bringing it to the journal. That's one thing I will do is I will write my question on the journal and then I will just start journaling what comes up.
Mm-hmm.
We have a whole video on journaling
Right.
it was out before this, so we
Mm-hmm.
can link that here below as well. But just really detoxing just really shows how often we turn to others for, please tell me what to think. Please
Right.
tell me what to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so beautiful practice, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And then reflecting on how it feels to tune into your inner guidance is um, another good thing. So once you do that detox, how did that actually make you feel? And how are you noticing? Are you noticing it show up in your body, or are you like, noticing it in other ways? So yeah.
And I do want to point out one other thing with this, because we teach this in Reiki, like when we're especially as we teach a beginner class, we're not sending our energy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're not, if we're trying so hard,
Yeah.
we need to step back. And I feel like that idea comes in really handy here. I'm a big fan of taking Epsom salt baths and allowing myself to disconnect from things and tune in with my inner wisdom. But if the whole time I'm in the bath, I'm trying to come up with this answer.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What is it? What is it? Show me what I need to know, self. Like,
Right.
what do I want? That is going to do more prevention than actually allowing that to come in. So bring the question. If I want to do a meditation while I'm in the bath, that's fabulous, but then I release it and let it go. The answer quite often to me is not going to come while I'm in the bath. It's going to
Right.
come later. It's going to come when I'm folding laundry or when
Mm-hmm.
I'm driving to work or when I'm out for a walk. It's going to come at a random time. So allowing ourselves to do some meditation. So I have had meditations where it's come through then.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a possibility. But here's my topic, here's my question, and then release,
Mm-hmm.
release, release, release.
Yes.
Just like
Yes,
a four-letter word.
definitely. Yeah, I love that.
So, yeah. So, how are ways that you bring that into your daily life? This whole self-trust. I know.
Trust yourself. I mean, trusting in the practice, trusting in the um, how how it unfolds. Trusting in the unfolding and just kind of allowing it. That's
Can't
that
make this
card
up.
again. It just keeps coming up. It's not an overnight fix, and it's not something that's going to come immediately. Just like what you were saying with the answers, they're not going to come. I mean, they can, and they do sometimes. I mean, um, sometimes I'll be walking and I'll ask these questions, and then all of a sudden, boom, it pops right in. But a lot of times, it's not going to come that. quickly. And finding that trust in yourself, is not is something that you build. It's something that you just um if you stay committed to it, it's going to strengthen, and it's something it's just going to keep building up from, just like what you said with the, eating, choosing what you're going to eat, and you just keep committing to that, keep doing that. It's going to start building, and you
Mhm.
will find more of that trust in yourself.
Starting with those little things is a real thing, and it
Hmm.
does expand.
Yeah,
It went from food to me to then activities to, how did I get riding motorcycles? It was
yeah,
that very thing, and so it was all, it is an overnight, or it is a practice. It's not an overnight fix.
mhm.
And I love it because this is the one I am not a fan of that whole word consistency. That does not sit right in my system.
Yeah.
But this is one thing where it was fun and playful,
Hmm.
where each time I went out of town, I was like, ooh, what's my one thing going to be this time? And most often it was food, but then it started to be an adventure. I went to San Diego one time and off the cuff went to a Bram Stoker's Dracula ballet. I was there at Halloween and I got to go see this ballet completely by myself. And I walk in and it's a masquerade. And of course,
Ah.
like I had dressed up because I wanted to. And then there's
Mhm.
this mask, and I'm like, you can't make this up. Like, this is the best. But it was those types of things of trusting myself and not letting in the, oh, you can't go to a ballet by
Mhm.
yourself. That's weird. I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
even care. I'm going. So all those little things, because I don't think I could have started there. I had to start
Mhm.
with the food thing and trying
Right.
new things and challenging myself to find something new. That was consistent, but yet it was playful. It was fun. It was stretching myself, and it was not every day. So
Right.
really just what works for you? How can you make that a practice and an enjoyable one?
Right.
That's what makes that consistency work, is when it's
Mhm.
fun. Like if it's
Yeah.
fun, we want to keep showing up. And I was finding things I liked and things I didn't like. And I'm like, oh, won't do that again. Or, oh, sign me up for that every time.
Mhm.
And just that was part of like what you said with how do you feel when you do those things? Like that
Mhm.
was so, I don't know, it was so cool. And then from then on, I was able to say, no, I actually don't like that because I
Right.
don't like it, not because it's weird or I'm not supposed to. And changes your life completely.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So we would love to know what's a small way that you're going to trust yourselves more this week. So please put that down in the comments below. We would love to have that conversation about what is your challenge, maybe a first or something, maybe one of these practices that you've heard that really resonates and lights you up. So share that with us
Mm.
in the comments below. We want to hear from you. That would be fun to hear.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap up?
No, I think I'm good.
I think I am too. So yes, let's have some conversation in the comments below. And if this was valuable for you, please help us out. Share this with a friend who could use it. Share it on your social media. Tag us in that. That would be fabulous if you would want to tag us in that. We can converse with you on social media as well.